And so this month we will be exploring true happiness, true happiness. And as I was in my early morning sit, just presencing our session today, so aware of the deep relief, my gratitude for this way that practice gives us the space from a noisy, busy world, from the loud volume of the conditioned mind, habit patterns, personally and collectively, to empty and to turn within. Just that simple motion. And in turning within, being given the invitation to remember, to directly experience our inner radiance. Touch in your own way with your experience of this radiance, this happiness. It's not something that's yours, as in you own it. It doesn't belong to separate self, and it doesn't occur through separate self. But it's the radiance, the happiness of awareness, knowing itself. Consider this for a moment. Every activity of separate self, every thought separate self carries, is oriented towards an assumption that who I am, what's here, is lacking, is insufficient, is inherently incomplete, is inherently not whole. The assumption that it is required that we reach outside of ourselves, that we look to externals to try to attain this thing called happiness. Show of hands if you know through your direct experience just what I'm pointing to. And so we reach out to relationships, we reach out to substances, we reach out to experiences, we reach to the thinking mind. We go to this. One of the precepts that I took as a Zen monastic was not to use narcotics. And as I investigated deeply into what that meant for me, because each precept is a subtle investigation that takes us far beyond the words themselves, I became aware that the thinking mind was my greatest narcotic, that I had been conditioned to and was happy to turn to it at any moment to numb out to the vibrant aliveness of who I really am. Are people with me? To the inherent happiness of who I really am. And so I acknowledge an experience years ago in practice. I have had many such experiences, as many of you had as well, of just waking up one morning, kind of an underslept waking up to the ruminating mind. Any of you wake up from time to time that place? Waking up in the morning to what I would call the turmoil of Eden, just sort of the stories about what was wrong or kind of off, or what I could have done better yesterday, or just, and this deep and profound willingness to pause, to just soften the thinking mind for a moment, and to recognize that at the very same time as that rumination was occurring, equally was the experience of all welcoming, all accepting, already whole awareness, compassionately neutral, not bothered, not in any way whatsoever caught in the turmoil of Eden. There is no such thing from this field. And in that moment of practice, recognizing that I had been, like so many of us, taught that happiness is sort of a high that we get to reach through the external attainment of something, and that that's not at all what happiness is. That innate within each and every one of us, that true nature exists in an always and already existing wholeness, a happiness that comes from recognizing that this is not complete, from the direct experience of completion. And so I remind people of this because oftentimes we're unaware of a quietly nagging assumption of incompletion. And we play the game, so to speak. We then engage in small ways. Oh, I'll get a snack. I'll get an energy bar. I'll lift this energy that's somehow faulty. I'll attend a meditation class to fix or change myself. I'll try to get there. That very motion of colluding with the illusion of incompletion is a self-fulfilling prophecy, reminding people of that. Yeah. Our practice is to moment by moment by moment recognize and turn towards this already existing happiness, awareness knowing itself, the experience of completion that is already here. From this place, folks, we get to savor our inner radiance. There is no practicing to try to fix and improve your broken self. That orientation dissolves. We don't often speak about it this way, but we get to practice to savor and celebrate, to know our inner radiance as a continual source of joy, a continual source of delight. It's not that we then don't engage in externals. The way I often speak about it in terms of relationship is, sure, we're relational beings. We love relating. We love intimacy and connection. But I'm going to use that phrase, meeting the one, so to speak, as I felt when I met my husband, becomes the icing on the cake. It's not the cake. This, just this, is the cake. Yeah? And so we can still engage because we are, and practice requires us to participate fully in life, to know ourselves not as in a isolated box of separation, but to know ourselves as the flow through, as the awareness that, just as we practice in meditation, being awake to the subtle flow, the vibratory field, our communication with, our oneness with, our experience of. What I'm saying is Gaia consciousness. We don't often talk about it that way in Buddhism, but more and more, especially in the eco-dharma world, there's a recognition that this is what we're pointing to. Yeah, the consciousness of all of life. And I also want to just share a name. Well, I'll name this through a question. How many of you have ever in your practice received messages or fallen into yourself the assumption that spiritual practice is hard and serious and arduous work? Anyone? I know I did in my part of my early years. And so it makes me want to laugh, this assumption, this story, because I feel that it really takes people away from practice as, first and foremost, awakening through our direct experience. And direct experience occurs when we soften the assumptions of thinking mind, the orientation and overlays of thinking mind, even that thinking mind puts onto practice, and wake up to our receptive, vibrantly alive. Part of me, I was going to say animal body, but I'm going to say body-mind. Recognize that I'm pointing to the integration of body-mind, but that this is such an alive place that we do and can forget when we are not willing to rest and don't know mind. when we're really activating mind, thought as center of gravity. Yeah. So let's remember together this month that true happiness can be radically simple. Simple, but not always easy. Yeah. Let's acknowledge that each of you in this group might have all kinds of externals going on in life that are challenging, and that we're facing tremendous challenges in our world right now. And so radical happiness does not discount that. I promise I will never ask anyone to spiritual bypass as part of practice. It's simply that the medicine of this inner radiance, the recognition of the wellspring of this inner radiance, it's medicine the entire world needs. It's medicine everyone in your community needs. It's medicine that each of us need as we navigate what life has given us to navigate. Okay? So let's pause. Yeah?